In this PowerPoint, I will be talking about cybercrime and legislation. Starting off with section 1, and we will talk about cybercrime and its tasks. So, cybercrime, this refers to any criminal activity which involves a computer or a network device or even a network as a whole. In the past, cybercrime initially began with hackers trying to hack into basically computer networks. Then, computer viruses were also another major form that was used as malware in order to attack computer networks, which constituting cybercrime. We then have phishing scams, which was also used by attackers. Phishing scams basically where an intruder will try and ask for bank accounts and cause credit card theft. The main future cybercrimes include ransomware and malware, which has greatly fueled the cyber insurance market not only in the UK but throughout the world. So the major present cybercrimes are phishing scams, internet fraud, and online intellectual property infringement. Phishing scams is basically an online fraud that targets consumers through sending an email which it would look like it's been sent through someone reliable, and most often some people will often fall victim to it thinking that, oh, this is reliable, this is from a big source company, so why not do it? And then what happens is that whoever's done that can then steal the user's data if they fall for it. We then have internet fraud. This is an illegal act where scammers will ask people to send money, promising large amounts of payback after a short term. And then online intellectual property infringement includes a range of online actions such as phishing, SEO, and unsolicited email marketing that involves the sale of fake goods and services. Identity theft. This type of cybercrime is related to phishing, scams, and they have two forms. Personal information of accounts are stolen, but no payment method saved. And then there's credit card information or bank account details which are stolen. So online harassment and cyber stalking. It is where social media social media through posts, comments, and direct messages can be used as a form of threatening an individual or a particular group. So hacking. This basically is an act that refers to activities that seeks to compromise digital devices. This could be computers, smartphones, tablets, or even an entire network. And hackers are mostly motivated for personal gain, obviously, but also some hackers do it to make a statement that, oh, I can hack into, let's say, Apple, and they find it more of a challenge, so the harder it is to hack, the better it is for them. Then we have denial of service attack. This is an attack which is meant to shut down a machine or network, making it inaccessible to its intended users. DOS attacks are accomplished by flooding the target with traffic or sending information that triggers the attack. So malware is a general term for any program which is designed to damage, disrupt, or hack a device. Viruses and ransomware or malware. Ransomware is basically a malicious program which blocks access to a device until the ransom fee is paid. So in the future, cybercrimes are expected to be more intense due to rising technological trends. So down here, I'm going to be talking about Internet of Things and worldwide 5G rollout. These are some trends which make possibilities for a rise in cybercrime. So this is starting off with IoT. This is a network of actual objects that are equipped with sensors and software to communicate with other internet connected objects. This interconnection of devices is in the internet making lots of devices vulnerable to attackers. Then we have the fifth generation of mobile network known as 5G. It's slowly but gradually rolling across the world, and it's a significantly faster transmission and therefore ability to connect more people is much more, which gives attackers high chances to get to a lot of people at once. So we then have shift to remote work. This is a lot of companies have started to migrate to remote working due to COVID. And well, not due to COVID. Well, when COVID happened, a lot of people started working from home, and since then, companies have continued to keep that up. But what's happened is though that this opens the door to attackers to execute the threats in this kind of work. We then have AI and ML's growing popularity. While the AI it might make our lives easier, but it can also make it more easier for hackers to get into networks, as there won't be any human participation, and if a hacker to just bypass that system. And then with these technologies growing gradually, many people will become more vulnerable to. So, and then we have the current significant threats right now. One of the most significant cyber crime threat is hacking social media and email accounts that account for 46.7% of all the cyber crimes reported in the country. An example of this is, well, one of my friends, one over one, quite a few of my friends on Instagram have been hacked, and on, and when they've been hacked, in their story they'll post stuff like, "Do you want to make £10,000 for like £1,000?" And when you see your friends promoting that kind of stuff, a lot of people will think, "Oh, maybe this is might be real." But what happens is, if there are victims that fall to it, sadly, what happens is they also end up getting hacked, and then the it just continues on until until all their friendship actually knows that, oh no, this is a scam, as they've been hacked. Because £10,000 for £1,000. So that's an example of a hacking that's been happening recently, and especially on Instagram, hackers have been increasing a lot. You then have computer viruses attacks, which is quite high in cybercrime, with the 24.62% of all the cybercrime cases that's reported in the UK. You then have personal hacking, which is the third current cybercrime in the UK, and across the globe with 9.55%. So these threats in total are financial losses to the individual companies or the government. So adequate measures need to be put into place to reduce these threats cases in the UK and as well as the world. Then we will move on to section 2, talking about the common threats to company MIS stored in cloud-based server. So the most common threat to a company that's stored on cloud-based server, this includes misconfiguration, unauthorized access, lack of visibility, and cyber attacks. Misconfiguration is basically rank the highest threats and the corresponding weaknesses which might exist in the software system or its components. Unauthorized access is basically an attacker gains access to something which they shouldn't, to the cloud databases. And lack of visibility is basically a lack of ability to monitor people who are accessing particular data. And then we have cyber attacks, obviously unexpected action fired by cyber criminal targeting an individual computer or group of computers. So some more common threats to the company that's all in cloud-based servers. Other common attacks can include hijacking of accounts, insecure interfaces, and external sharing of data. The cloud-based server could also be exposed to malicious insiders who have all the information on the operation of the server. This threat is common to all organizations, that is, be it which should be manufacturing or service delivery based. So what can be done to protect? Organizations need to fully implement an identity and access control mechanisms. They need to develop and implement the use of multi-factor authentication to the servers to gap the unauthorized access, so meaning that managers have the right to access everything except things that the higher managers might have, for example, and then you have what the CEO can access everything, basically, and the higher managers can access everything except for certain things that only the CEO can, and so on. So organizations need to identify and revoke any excessive access to sensitive information. Other techniques that are fundamental for organizations to protect their MIS and cloud-based servers include applying strong passwords, and organizations should also monitor user behaviors within their servers just to ensure the visibility and that they're not doing anything wrong or anything that could cause harm to their organizations. Then you have organizations that also have, the most important, honest employees and employees of high integrity to ensure that there is no data breaches or train them to get to that standard. Then we have the 5 most common threats to the director of the logistic companies. One of the most fundamental threats is planning and risk management threats. You then have fraud threats, as goods are also stolen on transit, and goods can also be damaged. So you then have management information system threats, which ranges from cybersecurity to cyber attacks, and it is also quite highly noted among the directors of logistic companies. You then have threats associated with distribution. This is also very common Executive Director of Logistics. You then have threats associated with a huge e-commerce growth, and it's also very common, like highly noted amongst the directors of the e-commerce companies across the globe. That is, and this is in a short and long-term basis. So, encrypt. What actions can be taken to reduce these threats? You can encrypt and backup data in order to ensure that no unauthorized access is happening, or loss of data won't happen if you back up the data. Develop and implement sound logistics information management system to reduce the threats that comes with them. Ensure proper planning on the logistics operation in the organizations. Develop and implement policy framework on fraud and risk management on the organization. Develop and implement policies operation management in the short and long term basis. This ensures competent, competent employees in all the logistic departments of distribution. So the important UK cybersecurity laws are Network and Information Systems Regulation 2018. This is one of the most fundamental cybersecurity laws in the UK, whose main aim is to protect the UK cyberspace. The Data Protection Act 2018 main objective is to control all access to all personal data in a manner that compromises an integrity and confidentiality. You then have Computer Misuse Act, which criminalizes the unauthorized access or interference with the computer. You then have Cyber Law Act. This is basically another essential cybersecurity law which provides a legal framework for electronic film governance, and it by giving recognition to electronic records and digital signatures. So key aspects that company will need to be aware of is there are strong legislations on cybersecurity management and protection. Committing cybersecurity offences is punishable by the courts of law in the United Kingdom. Companies need to put into place sound policies and strategies on cybersecurity management. Organizational managers or directors need to strengthen their internal structure to comply with the cybersecurity law. Future strategies for the company to remain compliant are organizations need to put into place more advanced technology in order to protect the cyberspace, such as software for protection. This could be such as firewall. You then have in the future, organizations will need to also put into place more sound cybersecurity policies, which are compliant with ever evolving technological advancements. In the future, governments need to put into place laws which can help to protect organizations as well as individuals from cyber attacks. Finally, they also need to organizations need to train their employees on very important cybersecurity laws and policies. There also needs to have a sound collaboration between organizations and government to have that sound cybersecurity laws and policies. The impact of this future strategies and policies is that it will ensure sound and safe cybersecurity industry. Finally, moving on to section 4, which is understanding the cybersecurity standard. A cybersecurity standard is a set of guidelines or best practices that organizations can use to improve their cybersecurity posture. Organizations can use cybersecurity standards to help them identify and implement appropriate measures to protect the systems and data from cyber threats. Standards can also provide guidance on how to respond and recover from a cybersecurity incident. And standards can also be what to do if, for instance, something does happen. Is there a backup? Moving on to cybersecurity frameworks are generally applicable to all organizations regardless of the size, industry, or the sector they're in. So this page details the common cybersecurity compliance standards, which forms a strong basis for any cybersecurity strategy. The international standards for cybersecurity are Control Objectives for Information and Related Technologies, which provides an IT governance framework for businesses wanting to implement, monitor, and improve IT management best practices. So you then have international standard organization, which is basically ISO 27001. This provides specification for an information security management system. You then have the ISO 27002. This provides standards on the necessary adjustments towards the changing natures of the cyberspaces. And then you have the British Standard for Business Continuity, which is the BS 25999. This provides for a standard approach to businesses continuity as a way of management efficiency all the way down to the supply chain. And what are the impacts of these standard accreditations? The impact of these standards is that they have helped in making the cyber industry better and more effective. What I mean by that is it helps to prevent more cyber crimes happening as these accreditations have been put into place prevent hackers or attackers from causing more harm. Then you have as these standards you basically you're planning, you're protecting it from beforehand, as I mentioned earlier on. You then these standards accreditations also help to adhere the legal obligations such as the NIS, which is Network and Information Systems, the guidelines for the NIS and the EU GDPR, GDPR being General Data Protection Regulation. And it is important that we adhere to these obligations because if an organization is found not to be following it, they can have a very, very severe punishment. This could be financial or whoever scores it could may even face criminal charges. So here is a diagram of the BS 25999. Then you have the same thing but for ISO 27001. Then you have the same thing for ISO 27002. And then there's the code principles.